Hey guys, welcome to today's live Big Brother 21 updates and spoilers. Our house guests of the day are Kathy Bartek and Kathy McHale. It's Kathy Day. Aren't you excited?
Very.
So thank you, both of you, Kathy, so much for the support. We could not do this without you, and we really, really do appreciate it. So thank you so much. Okay, so it's eviction day, but when we left off yesterday, oh wait, and I wanted to say, did I say if you guys want to be house guests of the day, check out our Patreon link in the info box below? My memory's going. Okay, so when we left off yesterday, Nick started his campaigning that he's been planning for days and days and days. He's gone over it so many times in his head. It is now time to unleash it. So, yeah. He talked to Tommy first, and we went through this campaign in yesterday's spoiler. So if you didn't watch that yet, go check that one out for a full breakdown because, oh my god, I've heard him rehearse these so many times already. I can't do it again. So, long story short, Nick was trying to guilt trip Tommy, and he was like, you told me in the past that you would keep me over Christie if we were both up on the block. He brought up jury votes, and he said, you already told Jack and Sis that you were loyal to them, and you voted them out, so if you do the same thing to me, you could be down 3 jury votes right off the bat, so that's not a good look for you. Hey guys, so Tommy said, Nick, you are better for my game, but I already gave my word to Christie. So, yeah, he gave his word to Christie when they freaking walked in the door and noticed each other. Let's be real. He didn't really have a chance to actually get Tommy's vote here. So then Nick campaigned to Cliff, and before he really got into it, Cliff was like, I just want to tell you, I'm not going to be making a decision yet, so, like, I'm definitely going to hear you out, of course, but I'm not going to be able to tell you yet what I'm doing. And Nick is like, no, that's fine. He says he doesn't really want to know ahead of time how people are going to be voting. He thinks it would be fun if it was a little surprise for him. Okay, so Nick goes through everything that he's done for Cliff. He says, all right, I did put you up when I was HOH, but I didn't want you to go. Sorry about that. 2 weeks ago, I orchestrated a deal for you to stay, and it also set you up to be good for a few weeks. And this week, I'm America's prankster, and I didn't put you up on the block. I put up someone who you told me is your target. So, I did stuff for you. That's all fine and dandy, and that's great that he can tell people what he's done for them. But honestly, the past is in the past. I feel like a better campaigning thing would be to tell people what you can do for them in the future. They don't care what you've done for them in the past. They want to know what you can offer them moving forward, right? Big Brother is a selfish game like that. It's brutal, but that's what it is. So then Nick is saying, like, oh, do you think that America would reward someone if they were lying? So he's trying to say, like, I'm always honest, my game is transparent, blah, blah, blah. So then Nick is saying that if Christie survives the block this week, that's going to be 3 times in a row. So if she can do that and she makes it to the final 2, she's going to be able to make a hell of an argument for herself. She's going to be really tough to beat in the end. And then Nick says, I've also heard that Jess and Christie are targeting guys. So if I go, I'm not saying that you're necessarily going to be their target, but you could be. If I stay, I will be that target in front of you. I'll be your shield. So then Nick says, just so you know, I'm not making deals with anyone to stay this week. I'm just asking people for their votes, and if they keep me and then, you know, they decide they want to take me out next week, that's fine. You know, he says, it's fine. I just want another week, blah, blah, blah. It's sounding pretty desperate. But he says, I'm an easy target to put up next week, so do what you want. He says, I feel like I deserve to stay. I feel like America thinks that I deserve to stay. Do we, though? I think a lot of people probably voted for Nick to be America's prankster because they figured he would go after Christie, which he did. Um, but he's taking it like he's like this super popular player now, and it's like validating what he's done in the game. I don't see it like that, man. Okay, so then Cliff says, I want you to know this is going to be a game based decision. So it's not going to be personal at all. And then they were discussing how Cliff would be a lot more likely to keep Nick if he knew that Jackson and Holly were on board. So Nick is like, yeah, well, I'm planning on talking to them last, so I'll let you know how that goes or whatever. And Nick says he feels like he's going to get the votes. But even if he doesn't, he feels like he's going to stay because of a twist, because of Prank Week. Please no. I just feel like as a BB updater, it's so discouraging when they do something like that and like the whole week was just a waste, basically. It's just very frustrating. But anyway, meanwhile, Jess and Christie were giving Nicole a makeover. So fun. So they're doing her makeup and her hair, and she looked great. It was so nice. Like, I feel like she looks great without makeup anyway. I think everybody looks great without makeup. But she looked so nice. Okay. So then Christie campaigns to Jess, even though she says she's not pitching. She's just got a few things to talk to her about. Okay. So Christie says, I felt like I could count on your vote this week, even without really talking about it, because obviously we share the same target in Nick. Christie says he's a therapist and a hustler. He's a psychological threat, he's a comp threat, he's a social threat, he's all the types of threats. So Christie brings up that Nick has been very vocal that he would never put up Tommy or Nicole. He's been protecting them. So he's naturally going to have a smaller pool of people to pick from if he were to win HOH. So that is something that Jess should be thinking about, because she's also heard that Jess is Nick's target, obviously. But Christie says, I'm all alone. Really, Tommy? Okay. Your nephew would say otherwise. So Christie tells Jess, I would love to go to the final 3 with you. I think that would be great. And she says, I feel like it would be a little too bold to say final 2 at this point. So she says, we can decide together who we want to target next if we get rid of Nick this week. I'm sorry. There is some lawn work happening outside, but I hope you guys can still hear me. So Jess says that she's kind of scared that Nick is going to stay because of Prank Week. Me too. But she says that she would like Christie to stay this week. She is planning on voting for Christie to stay. Duh. Okay, so then Nick campaigns to Jess. And Jess is like, oh my god, I feel like this is the first time that we've ever had like a one-on-one game discussion. Ugh, that's not a good thing to like hear on day 71. I feel like that's not that's a bad omen for how this campaign conversation's about to go. So Nick says to Jess, I respect your game. I respect you on a personal level, blah, blah, blah. Does he respect her game, though? I have my doubts. So he says, I only have 1 point to present to you. Like, I'm pretty sure you're not going to vote for me to stay, but I do have 1 point to present to you. He says, everybody knows that I am your target. So if I go, you might actually become a target because people will not know who you're targeting. So it's like a fear of the unknown kind of thing. And Jess is like, oh yeah, that's a good point. But she tells him, I might be an emotional person, but I'm not an emotional player. And she tells Nick, I think you're playing a great game. If you made it to the final 2, I would definitely vote for you. So Nick is telling her, do what's best for your game. I've got nothing but respect for you. Moving on, because I really don't think that Nick is going to be getting Jess's vote. Oh boy. Now it's time for Nick to pitch to Holly and Jackson. So he tells them before he starts that he has been working on this campaign specifically for them for days. He says it's going to be funny, but it's also going to be good. Okay. So he also tells them, I don't want to know which way the vote is going to go. And I also want to let you know I will not be making deals with anyone, including you guys. Ooh, whoa. So Nick says that he's got 5 points to hit. This is just like so exhausting to keep talking about because this whole breakdown basically was in yesterday's spoiler too. Maybe even the one the day before. I don't remember. But I'm going to go through it again because maybe this will be the last time we're hearing it. I don't know. So here we go. The 5 points. Number 1, he does a recap of all the things that he's done for them. It was mostly things that he's done for Jackson. So he says, I flipped the camp director vote for Jackson to get it. I didn't put you guys up when I was HOH, even though I was hearing, that you guys were potentially going to turn on me and Bella. I checked on Jackson after the fight on day 44, and I voted for him to stay when he was up against Jack. And this week, I was America's Prankster, and I did not put Jackson up on the block. Again, it's great that you did all those things for them, but they want to know what you're going to do moving forward. Okay. Also, I feel like those are all reasons that Nick is going. I mean, you've had so many opportunities to take out Jackson just from what he's saying, and he just ignored them. That's on you, man. That's on you. So, number 2, he says, I can be an upgrade for you over Christie. He makes some sports reference for Jackson, and he's like, Holly, if you don't get that, it would be like going from a baby horse to a stallion. They were cracking up about that. So he says, I'm a better competitor than Christie. I can win stuff for you. I feel like that would have been good like a few weeks ago, or like Christie just made it through the cracks with that last week. But at this point in the game, you don't want to keep around the better competitors. You want to get rid of them. So it's not really making sense, or at least I don't think so. So Nick is saying, I will be a huge target. I'll win competitions for you. And your target will not have to get any bigger because I'm going to win things for you. You don't have to win any more competitions. So then number 3, he says, you've both told me that you guys only have one ally in this game, each other. But you'll also have me as an ally. He says, I'm loyal. You can have my loyalty fully, and you don't have to be loyal back to me. He says, again, that if he's up on the block against one of them and he wins the power veto, that he would use it on them instead of himself, which just sounds like so ridiculous. Oh my god. And then he says, if one of you goes by some chance, I will be an ally to the one who stays. He says, you think Christie's going to do that? Because I'm pretty sure if one of you was evicted, Christie would be like, bye to the other one. She's not going to stick around and work with the one that stays. Which is funny because Christie's not going to wait until one of them's gone. She is turning on them. Okay. So number 4. Are we really going to let Christie escape the block 3 times in a row? If she's able to do that, it's going to be really a great argument for her in the final 2 that she was able to do that. And he's also talking about how Christie had her back against the wall last week and she blew up his game. She blew up all of her allies' games. Whatever. He says he wouldn't do that the way that she has. All right. Number 5. Oh, number 5. He says, this is not a deal. This is a promise. It sure sounds like a deal to me. I mean, you can call it whatever you want, but it sounds an awful lot like a deal. So he says, we're not going to be working together. I would be working for you guys. You guys don't owe me anything in return. So Nick says, for example, I am your protection. So at that point, Nick stands up and he pulls a condom out of his pocket. Jackson and Holly are cracking up. Who is he, freaking Carrot Top with his prop comedy? Okay, so he puts the condom on his hand and he says, if I win HOH, I wouldn't put you guys up, obviously. But if I don't win HOH, somebody else is going to put me up on the block because I'm going to be such a huge target. That's going to be one less spot for you guys to be nominated. And then he's pointing at the hand. He's like, this is me. I'm your protection from being nominated, blah, blah, blah. And then the condom breaks. That's pretty symbolic. I think it's time for him to go, right? So then Nick says, when you're done with your protection, you dispose of it. And he takes off the condom and throws it on the ground. And then he's like, again, you don't owe loyalty to me. I owe it to you. And he says, you can put me up on the block and vote me out when you're done with me. I think that's what they're doing this week. I think they're done with you this week. But he's saying, even if you did put me up on the block as a pawn or whatever and I stay, I still, if I won HOH, would not target you guys. It's just, it's so unbelievable at this point. I mean, I'm sure he's completely 100% honest about it in the moment, but if it got to a point where, okay, maybe he does survive like 2 more weeks and then he wins an HOH, would he really be sticking with this? I have my doubts. And if he did, that's just sad. So then Nick brings up America, and again, he's saying, do you think I would have gotten to power if what I was saying was false? And he's saying, I'm playing a transparent game, blah, blah, blah. He brings up Christie and the things that she's lied about, and he's like, you know what? When she was saying that she didn't want to go to the final 6 with couples, and she was saying that she didn't like Jackson and she wanted to put him up, like, all that stuff was true. And guess what? It was. But she denies it, and she gets away with it. So Nick is promising them the world, and I think he even slipped one time and called it a deal, and then he was like, no, it's not a deal, it's a promise, it's a promise. And he says, my game is essentially over, and now I just want to help you guys out. I feel like once somebody says that, they are just at the point of desperation where it's not believable. Like, you gotta go. So Nick says if he goes, that they should work with Nicole because she loves them, she's super loyal, and he says, I can't speak for her, but I'm pretty sure that she would not target you guys. Nick also said if he was evicted and he came back via battle back or whatever, or because of the twist, he's saying, I would still work with you guys. I think he did say that he would take away the whole, I would use the veto on you even if I was up against you. So that's going to be off the table. But he says that he would still do all the other stuff. So Jackson's like, all right, I like your pitch. We're going to have to think about it and talk about it, and we'll go from there. So then Nick leaves. Holly and Jackson are alone to talk about this. And the second the door closes, Jackson's like, he should have said less. You know, that last statement about if he wins the battle back, he would still work with them. Jackson says that's it. It's done. Like, it's a win-win for us. We can get rid of him and he'll still work with us. So why are we going to keep him around? Yeah. So then Jackson says all of the points that Nick was making, those are all reasons that he could present to the jury if he makes it to the final 2. So he's good. He's got to go. And they're also thinking it's kind of scary that Nick would be willing to flip on Tommy like that. So it freaks them out. They agree that Nick's got to go. And then Jackson starts talking about next week. And he says, you know what? We're good with everyone. He's been saying this for a few days now, but he's feeling more confident than ever. He's like, we've got our final 4 with Cliff and Nicole. We've got our fake final 4 working with Tommy and Christie. And we're feeling pretty good about Jess now, too. So that's everybody. So Jackson is still saying he wants to throw the next HOH competition. You know what happens on shows like this or like Survivor when you start to feel comfortable? That's when you lose. So, oh my God, can you imagine if he does throw the HOH competition and then he leaves next week? That'd be nuts. It would kind of be everything. Okay, so then Tommy and Christie were checking in with each other, and this conversation was happening while Nick was pitching to Jackson and Holly. So they're saying they would love to go to the final 3 with Jess. Christie feels like it's a slam dunk. It could be a guarantee for Tommy and Christie to make it to the final 2 because they're assuming they would be able to beat Jess in the last HOH. I think it would be a slam dunk for Christie because Jess would probably want to go to the end with her over Tommy, but there is that chance, that Jess could win and Tommy would be screwed. But he seems into the plan. So then they're talking about how they're going to keep telling Jackson and Holly that they want to work with them. It's working so far. They're falling for it. But Tommy says Jackson and Holly have been taking shot after shot at his people, and that's not okay. Christie says, in a perfect world, I would love to put Jackson and Holly up next, but we've got to be careful. We've got to play it by ear. It could happen if the stars align, right? So then Tommy is saying Jackson has to go. They agree he's an animal. He's a beast in competitions. They can't deal with that. So, where am I? Oh, okay, so Tommy's plan for if he wins HOH. He's like, I don't know what I'm going to do. But then he figures it out. He's like, I guess I would probably put up Jackson and Nicole. He doesn't want to straight up put up Jackson and Holly for a few reasons. First of all, he doesn't want it to seem like he is attacking them. His target would be Jackson, but he doesn't want to completely ruin things with Holly. Also, he wants to use Nicole as the pawn because, let's face it, she's not good at competitions, and Holly is. So he feels like even if Nicole is mad at him for using her as a pawn, she is way less likely to win competitions and retaliate against him than Holly would be. So yeah, Jackson would be the target, but if he comes down with the power veto, Tommy would plan on putting up Cliff, and he would be the new target. Interesting. So Christie says she likes that, and if she wins HOH, she might have to steal that plan too. Okay, so then Christie continues her campaigning. She talks to Cliff, and she tells him, you would not go up if I won HOH. Apparently, unless Jackson won the veto. But obviously, she's not going to tell him that. So she implies that she would target Jackson. And she says, I wouldn't be going after Holly, but I feel like I'd have to put both of them up to make sure that Jackson goes. Damn, that's pretty risky telling Cliff that. Ugh. I mean, I guess if it got back to Jackson and Holly, she could just say, oh, I'm just trying to cover up our thing. I wouldn't actually go after you guys. But that is pretty risky to tell Cliff. But Cliff is like, no, I see what you're saying, and I agree that they're huge threats. And he's saying he's not going to tell on her. And from what I've seen, he hasn't so far. So maybe he wouldn't be super upset if Christie took out Jackson, right? I mean, he's saying he wants to go to the Final Four with them, but if something else were to happen, maybe he wouldn't be that upset about it. So Cliff does let Christie know that he's voting to keep her. La-di-da. Okay, so then Christie talks to Nicole, and she's like, I'm a free agent. Woo! Again, she kind of implies that she might be going after Jackson and Holly. She wants to make big moves. She's not afraid to make a big move. And Nicole says, my decision will be based on game. She didn't give her a direct answer of what she was doing, but she says they'll, reconvene later, whatever. Okay, so then Cliff and Nicole check in with each other. And, by the way, I just wanted to mention, Nicole slipped earlier in the day and she fell and she hurt her tailbone. So she's in a lot of pain right now. I hope this is not going to affect her in the upcoming HOH competition because apparently it's going to be on the feeds, which means it's going to be endurance, I guess. Her little tail base is hurting. Okay, so Nicole asks Cliff, how are you feeling about the vote? And Cliff responds, like I want both of them to go. Oh, he said it. Okay, so he says, obviously, I trust Nick more than Christie, but Nick is a better competitor, and he's just so tight with Tommy. Oh my God, does he really think that Tommy is tighter with Nick than he is with Christie? And Cliff is one of the only people, maybe the only people besides Tommy who heard that message from the outside world. But I guess he really is ignoring the message about Tommy and Christie knowing each other. Okay, so Cliff says that Tommy, Jackson, and Jess are all pretty much locked into to evict Nick. So it's kind of a done deal. So he's telling Nicole, like, you need to chill out with the campaigning for Nick because it's pretty much over. So then Jess joins them, and she also feels that Tommy doesn't really have any ties to anyone. But she's saying, like, Tommy was close to Jack and Sis, but he didn't seem to have a problem voting them out. So she feels like he's really just concerned with keeping himself safe. Which, like, yeah, I guess so, right? Isn't everyone? But anyway, they're feeling like it really could be a 5-0 vote for Nick to go. But Nicole is having a really hard time with this because she is close to Nick on a personal level and a game level. And she's considering, like, should I give him a sympathy vote? But at the same time, she doesn't want to shoot herself in the foot. So she's not really sure if it's worth it. But she feels bad, especially after Nick has said over and over again that he's all about loyalty. And he still voted to keep Sis even though he knew that she was going. So she's going to feel like a jerk if she does not vote to keep him, even though she knows he's going. Okay. So then Christie was talking to Jackson and Holly in the HOH room. She feels like all of her campaigning has gone really well. At this point, Christie and Nick have both made the rounds, and they're not going to keep going back and badgering people. Like, that's it. They've done their campaigning. So it was like a pretty chill night after all the campaigning was done. So again, Christie says her campaigning went well. She feels good about it. It's not like last week when she was freaking out. So she is saying to Jackson and Holly, I want to keep working with you guys. I want to keep this thing going. We'll have Tommy back completely once Nick is gone. So let's reunite the four. Let's get the gang back together. But it's BS because we know that Christie wants to target Jackson next. But it's funny because this is only making Jackson more and more comfortable to throw the next HOH competition. So Jackson and Holly confirm with Christie that she has the votes to stay, and they're playing along with her that they want to go to the final four with Christie and Tommy because obviously if one of them wins HOH, they want to make sure that they're safe with them, which they wouldn't be. But yeah, we know that Jackson and Holly would rather go to the final four with Cliff and Nicole because they feel like they'd be easier to beat. Okay, so then later, Nick and Nicole chat, and Nicole's like, okay, hypothetically speaking, if it seems like everyone was gonna vote you out, and Nick just cuts her off and tells Nicole, if that's the case, just vote me out. Just vote me out. Don't put your own game at risk if that's the situation. So he's asking her, does it look like I'm going? Is that what it looks like? And Nicole lies at first, and she's like, I don't know. And he's like, are you lying? And she says, maybe. So yeah, she admits it's not looking good. And Nick is surprised by this. Are you serious? He was really confident that his campaigning he was just knocking it out of the park. So he's a little bit surprised to hear this, but he tells Nicole, if the votes aren't there, just vote me out. I will not be upset with you. I totally understand. Okay. Nicole seems really concerned that when she votes, she's going to hear a reaction from the crowd. Like, you know how sometimes they'll be like, oh, when somebody votes against like a friend or something. So she's really nervous about that. She's really nervous about the backlash, but he keeps telling her, just do it. Just vote me out if that's what's going to happen. So today, everyone's just getting ready for the live show. There were a lot of haircuts going on, hair coloring, and Nick knows that he doesn't have the votes. He's just hoping at this point that there's going to be some sort of twist or prank that's going to cause him to stay. He's really hoping that Julie's going to be like, okay, you've been voted out, but if you can do all of the bird calls from the bird studying that you did last week, then you can stay. Like, he's really hoping it's going to be the bird thing because he's studied that so much. Okay. He was also talking about how he thinks that Jackson or Holly deserve to win this thing, and he thinks that Holly really has the best chance. I gotta say, she's got a really good chance to make it to the end and win. Jackson, probably not, because he is a much bigger target than her. But I mean, she's making moves, so I think if she makes it to the end, she could definitely win this thing. But he's looking forward to influencing the jury. Specifically, it sounds like against Tommy or Christie if they made it to the end. So yeah, I don't know. Is there going to be a prank tonight, or is it going to be a normal eviction? Will it be 5-0 or 4-1 with Nicole throwing a sympathy vote? I think she'll probably vote to evict Nick just to save face with everybody else. But you never know. And I just don't know what's going to happen with this prank week, if there's going to be another twist or what. But apparently, tonight's HOH competition will be live on feeds, so I'm assuming it's going to be an endurance comp. I don't know. Do you guys think it's going to be the wall, or do you think it's going to be one of those ones where they're hanging onto a rope and like spinning around and they get hit with like a giant hand or something? I don't know. But let me know who you guys are rooting for in that next HOH. I would love to see somebody win who would put up Jackson and Holly, because I think that would be amazing. Okay, so that's all I got for you guys. I'll see you after tonight's show for the recap. And thank you guys so much for joining me for another live BB21 updates and spoilers. See you later, and until then, much love.